Satya Skills. In this video, let us learn some basic information about types of companies. Any company registered under Companies Act are registered companies, but we simply call them companies. But there are different kinds of companies incorporated. They can be classified under 5 major groups. They are like a classification on the basis of incorporation, liability, number of members, control, ownership, etc. These are the 5 major, etc. means there are some more miscellaneous are there. On the basis of incorporation, companies can be statutory companies or ordinary registered companies. Statutory companies means the companies created or established by the government by passing an act in the parliament. So, they are called statutory companies. Example RBI, LIC, UTI, etc. Then registered companies means any other company, any company formed under the Companies Act. Then on the basis of liability, this is important, listen carefully. Companies can be with limited liability basically or unlimited. First, let us look into the limited liability. It is again different kinds. Companies limited by shares means under this, the liability of members of a company is limited to the amount of unpaid shares. Such companies usually are known as the companies limited by shares. Companies limited by shares are the most common in India. Here, it can be a public company or a private company. That's a different one. That is that can be in the public sector or private sector. Okay. Once just here, all the problem will come only at the time of winding up of a company. Say at the time of winding up of a company, if at all there are debts, then that the debt clearance responsibility will be on the owners called shareholders. But if it is limited by shares, their liability will be up to unpaid shares. You need to understand that point very clearly. Second one is limited by guarantee. Means the liability of members is limited to a fixed amount which they undertake to contribute to the assets of the company at the time of winding up of a company. Okay, how much they give guarantee in the beginning, that to that extent only they are due. Okay. But this kind of companies are not very common. Usually charities, service companies, they will be like that. Then unlimited companies means a company without limited liability is known as unlimited liability company. In such a case, every member is liable for the debts of the company above their share value. Remember that sometimes they may not have shares also, but they are directly responsible for all the debts. That small variation one need to understand. Then classification on the basis of number of members, this is also a bit important, listen carefully. Private companies means it is not private sector. Try to understand that, don't get confused with private sector and private companies. Private company means where it restricts transfer of shares. That means you cannot transfer shares. And it is also that number of members are limited, and it prohibits public issue, and a private company cannot issue debentures to a public at large openly. Okay. Public company which has no restrictions on the transfer of shares or number of members, a public company can issue share capital or shares to general public through public issue. Okay. Public sector, private sector means different. Please understand that. Private sector means all the companies owned by private individuals comes under private sector, and public sector companies owned by the government. Don't get confused with that and this. Then on the basis of control, holding company, a company is known as holding company of another company if it has control over the other company. Then subsidiary company means a company is when it is under the control of some other country, it becomes a subsidiary company. On the basis of ownership, maybe just now we were discussing public sector, private sector, like government company, non-government or private company. and foreign company. In the same way, on the basis of location, companies can be domestic or foreign. Basing on the cluster, they can be multinationals or simply ordinary companies. Like that, there are some other miscellaneous types. That's all in this video. All the best.